In this video, we're going to show you how to install a strut on your Nissan Murano located behind your front wheels. Note the vehicle raised and supported, so let's go ahead and use our 21mm socket to loosen and remove these lug nuts. Now we want to go grab the wheel and remove it. On the outside center here, we're going to go ahead and use our cutters. We want to remove the cotter pin here going through the center of the axle. Now cotter pins are a one-time use, so go ahead and toss that. Then we're going to remove the little cage. It's going to give us access to the axle nut. There it is. Using a 32mm socket, loosen and remove the axle nut. Now at this point here, you do want to make sure that your CV axle will move in and out. You can see that I can move that in, reach around, grab that axle, push it back through. Now for some reason, if that's binding up or it's stuck, go ahead and spray that down with some rust penetrant. You do want to make sure that it is free floating. If yours is stuck, do not smash the axle end with your hammer. You can use a punch, put it in the center and strike it with the hammer until you can get it to move, and then keep working it back and forth until it's free floating like this. We're going to go ahead and separate our flex hose here from the strut. This is just a horseshoe tab here. Now normally you could spray this down with some rust penetrant, slide that off like so. You want to take note that there's an arch in it, and you want that curve to be facing upward when you install this later on. Pull that hose out. 21mm nut, 21mm bolt head here. I'm going to go ahead and loosen these nuts, loosen and remove them. Going to be reusing this hardware, so set that aside. And let's go ahead and get the bottom one as well. All right, rock that knuckle back and forth, get that lower bolt out. I'm gonna keep that up on for a moment. Now when we undo this here, I wanna go ahead and start to pull the knuckle away. I wanna make sure that our CV axle is pulled back. Now your ABS wire comes up here. Little rubber grommet. I want to go ahead and slide this out. Gently roll it, don't pull on the wire, and it runs around to the back side. There's one there as well. Just going to go ahead and roll that out of the bracket on the strut. And there we go. Now let's go ahead and work on pulling that axle out of the back of the hub itself. Now before we separate everything here, I'm going to use some securing straps. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that I can anchor this around the reason for this is we don't want our whole knuckle just to fall down and pull on our brake line here. It's okay if it pulls away a little bit, because we have to remove the strut. Using an 18mm socket, we're going to loosen our swivel end link nut and then pull that out. Now up inside the engine compartment here on the driver's side, there are going to be 3 13mm bolts holding the strut. There's one right through this window, there's one right back here, and the third one is underneath the cowl cover here. Now this cover should pop off. What we're going to do is we're going to start by popping off the rubber seal. And there's going to be little plastic pins. So grab the seal, find the little plastic pin, and just gently wiggle it and pull that out. Do the same thing here. There's going to be 3 of them that we're going to go ahead and release, and then just let that drop aside. I'm going to grab this here. You're going to see the seam going all the way around. You're going to grab it and pull it towards the front of the vehicle. And well, you guessed it, the third one is going to be down inside here. We're going to go ahead and loosen these two first, and then we'll go ahead and access that third one later. Here's my 13mm socket, short extension of my ratchet. I want to come on back and get this other one here. Ideally, we just want to break these free, and then I'll get in there with my electric unit and zip those out a little bit better. Now we need to access inside this window right here to get to that third one, so let's go ahead and do that. Now with that panel off, you're gonna look inside, and it's gonna be a rubber cap. I want to go ahead and pop that off. Now sometimes you can get your hand in there. We're going to use our flathead screwdriver and our hand to try and get that up and off. It's just like a giant rubber grommet. Here it is. There's that rubber cap here. And then inside is going to be that nut we need to go ahead and gain access to. Now in order to get that bolt out, we're going to simply use a deep 13mm socket in our ratchet. Get that on in there. We're going to go ahead and loosen and remove this bolt completely, and then we'll use the power tool for the outside section. Now let's switch over to power here. Now these are bolts. Keep in mind, this inner one is now loose. This one here is out. Once we do this here, that strut's gonna wanna drop out into the wheel well. So I'm gonna loosen this here, I'm gonna reach right into the wheel and capture that other strut as it comes out. Take your new strut, feed this down inside, rotate it in. I'm just gonna set that there. Now what I'm gonna do is lift the strut up in. I'm gonna try and get one of these bolts started. With one of those bolts in, it'll support it in place. Now all we have to do is just kind of rock that strut around and position it to get one of the other bolts lined up. All right, we have two in. Let's go ahead and get that third one installed. All right. Now we have all three of these bolts started. What we're going to do is go into the wheel well area, get that lined up with a knuckle, and get those bolts installed. Let's get to raise the knuckle up, and we're going to try and get our lower bolt installed. Let's go ahead and get our nuts installed. go ahead and pop our strut or our swivel end link. Let's go ahead and snug that down. Run our ABS wire. Pop that grommet in. Follow it around to the other side. Pop that one in over there. Loops around the back. Let's get our brake line installed here. Now these are keyed. There's a little notch on the bottom. This goes behind and then should pull through. All right, I'll go ahead and tap that through. Now that we have our lines installed here, let's go ahead and snug down our strut bolts. Now we're going to go ahead and remove our securing strap. I'm going to torque these down to 103 foot-pounds. Let's torque down the sway bar end link nut to 58 foot-pounds. All right, now that we have our bolts in, let's go ahead and snug down the two outer ones first. With those two tight, I'm going to reach inside and I'm going to tighten down the third one here as far as I can by hand. Then I'm going to put my ratchet in there. We'll snug that down gently. Now we want to torque these to 26 foot-pounds. But I do want to get them seated first. All right, grab our torque wrench. All right, torque to 26 foot-pounds. When installing the rubber cap here, these can be tough to install. You have to get it in and get that little lip around to lock it into place to seal up that nut in the background there. Little trick here is to use some spray solvent. Get that in there and then press it down. All right. Now installing the plastic cover, it needs to slide straight back. There's going to be openings right here on the top on both sides that actually lock into both sides of the wiper cowl itself. And then the bottom ends snap in, securing it in. Go ahead and line this up. Snap it in. And then install your rubber seal. Simply press the plastic buttons in. At this point here, you are going to have an alignment performed on the vehicle anytime a major suspension component has been altered or replaced. You want to go ahead and do that process for the passenger side as well. Go ahead and install the axle nut. I'm going to snug that down. Grab a couple lug nuts and throw this on here. I want to go ahead and torque down the spindle nut to 135 foot-pounds. Let's install the cotter pin and crown. Just get to remove those lug nuts. Now that we have the lug nuts off, install the crown. Kind of line it up so we can get a cotter pin through. Bend over one of the tabs. If you want to, you can also bend the other one over, or you can snip it off. Get it set up on those studs. Then we're going to go ahead and start all of our lug nuts by hand. Now you want to start these by hand. That's going to prevent cross-threading and damaging the studs. Once you get them all started, we'll go ahead and snug these down. Let's now go ahead and torque down the lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds. Now when tightening this here, it's best to do it in a crisscross or star pattern. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.